All right. We are back here at Song of the Day, coming to you from the Rock Cave. I'm your host, Mark Pierce. It's Monday, another weekend in the books. Hope you're doing well today. Today's episode, I'm excited for today's episode, but today's episode is one of those episodes where it was fate. Fate is what made it happen, and there was no other choice but to make today's episode. That's all I can say about that, but it's a good one. And for those of you who have been watching, all you long haulers, I've been over this topic before, but it's always nice to revisit the good stuff, right? So there's some background here. I've been listening to the Roth show for a while now, David Lee Roth's podcast, and it's good. If you're a Van Halen fan, you got to check that out. But as I've said this before too, but I always want, you see David Lee Roth in interviews through all the years, and he was always just like on, right? Like and the stuff that came out of his mouth, you were like, what? Like, what is that? And I was always like, is that his persona? Like, is that like his on stage persona? Is that just the thing? And then when he walks away, does he just talk like I'm talking right now? And it turns out, no, that's just how Dave talks all the time, for the most part, unless I would like to know if that's not true in his personal life, but seemingly with hours and hours of podcasts behind, that's just him. The stuff that rolls off of his mouth, his tongue is amazing, and he's done so much and he's seen so much, and the stuff he comes up with, it's just you have to listen to it to understand it. But I can see where it's hard to keep up with. I mean, wow, but it's so good. I love his stories. I love the way he talks, and yeah, he's a little bit crazy. He's Diamond Dave. I mean, that's who he is. I'd love to sit down with him and chat. Come on the show, Diamond Dave. There's your official invite to come to the Rock Cave. We'll have a good time. All right, so why are we talking about David Lee Roth? Well, we're going back to this date today in 1984, 39 years ago. Next year, a big anniversary for their album, 1984, released January 9th, 1984. It doesn't say 1984 on the album cover, by the way, people, in the way that you think it does. If you remember, or if you're astute, it says MCMLXXIV, and there's that album cover with that cherub on the cover with a cigarette, looking kind of knowingly. There's a story behind that. Let's tell that story right now. They were looking for an album cover, and they went to a woman named Margot Nass. And they wanted her to design the cover, but they had a specific thing in mind. They wanted 4 chrome women dancing or something. And she was like, nah, I'm not feeling that. I don't want to do that. But then her husband took her portfolio to them anyway. I don't know. Was that a marital spat afterwards? Not sure. Probably not. But they picked this. This was already an image that she had produced. It was a friend of her son. She gave him some candy cigarettes, and she did that. And his name is Carter Helm. So Carter Helm, you're out there somewhere. I'm sure there's a story about you out there somewhere recreating it. Speaking of recreating it, when fast forward, but when Eddie Van Halen died, she did an interview or something, or posted something, and she reposted the album cover, kind of a close-up the image, but the cherub had tears in his eyes. We'll see if we can find that and post that up there. So anyway, this was Van Halen, we've been over them a million times. Their 6th studio album, we've covered all those albums. They're coming off of Women and Children First. This is the MTV generation now, and this one, their career just went up, 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 and then this hit, and it was just massive, right? Huge hit. They had promoted this on MTV. Remember that? The MTV Lost Weekend. If you won, send a postcard in, and if you won, you got a weekend with Van Halen. 1 million postcards sent in, and Kurt Jeffries won. Flew him to Detroit. I don't know why Detroit. I'd be like, dude, couldn't you flow me to South Beach? But he got to spend the weekend with the band and got to come on stage and all that stuff. But this was a little bit of a musical change, if you guys remember. I won't spend too much time on this, but more synthesizer. But you forget, David Lee Roth says, Eddie came to me with Jump, and I was like, no. But it worked, right? But there was they were heavy, but also synthesizers introduced in Women and Children First. You may not know this, but that song, the first song, "And the Cradle Will Rock," you think that's a guitar opening. It's not. It's a Wurlitzer electric piano. So I'm just saying, they were already kind of moving in that direction. But this one dropped, of course, on the strength of Jump. We can all talk about Jump. Iconic song. Over time, maybe just a little listener fatigue for me, but I've got a lot of great favorites on this record. Again, you can dig deep on my episodes, and I've done this a lot, so we won't spend too much time on it. But boy, this was a good record. Went to number 2. Michael Jackson kept them from going number 1. 4 singles, I argue, should have been 6. Jump, Panama, Hot for Teacher, I'll Wait. Number 1, Jump, Panama, and I'll Wait went to number 13. Surprised to hear Hot for Teacher only went to number 56. And that video being one of the most iconic 80s videos of all time, as far as that's concerned. But the other songs on there, Girl Gone Bad and House of Pain, that's kind of when you flip the record over, David Lee Roth says that's a treat for the diehard fans. And that House of Pain is just Mike Anthony at his best as a bass player, and he's completely underrated as a bass player and a backup singer, I might add. But Top Jimmy should have been a single, and this is just a great record. But your song of the day is the one that really should have been a single. I don't know how it was not a single. They should play this one on the radio more. We're talking Drop Dead Legs. I know there's some of you out there who agree with me, but Drop Dead Legs is the Van Halen song that shoulda, coulda, woulda been a hit in my mind. But what a great record this is. We're revisiting it today. I heard there's some extras on that one that a couple were released later. We didn't even know this was going to be the last David Lee Roth record until 2012, by the way. They were the biggest, best band in the world. And then David Lee Roth left the next year. Shoulda, coulda, woulda also been my first concert. I went and pleaded my case since my sophomore year in high school, and I said, I want to see Van Halen 1984 tour. Can I please go to this concert? No, you cannot. You're a sophomore. You're new in town. I don't know what all the reasons were, but I could not go. Was not my first concert. Should have been David Lee Roth. Should have been. It turned out to be Aerosmith, as we discussed. But anyway, I did see them tour with Sammy Hagar and Van Halen together. That one. So anyway, your song of the day, Drop Dead Legs. It gets its own show today. It gets its own marquee. Light up the lights. Drop Dead Legs. I'm playing that song today, and maybe the rest of the record if you want. But it's a good one. Whatever you're doing today, hope it involves music. Kick off your week with Van Halen. Speaking of Van Halen, I think I need more Van Halen t-shirts. I have one that I've been wearing on Van Halen as the episode, but all right, have a good one, and as usual, I'll catch you on the flip side.